Hi everyone, and thank you for joining us on another Monday night with Midgard's Well podcast. Tonight we are discussing our theory on Loki.
Not only the theory on Loki, but
Theory of Jesus.
the theory of Loki as Jesus. Now this is going to be a very kind of out there thing, a lot of thoughts on this one. Each of us kind of have our own opinion on the idea, and we'd love to hear your thoughts, of course, as well, so don't forget to comment in the section below.
We didn't start the flame.
Yeah. So more or less, this started about, what'd you say, maybe 4 or 5 years ago with you and me?
Sounds about right.
And I independently thought of it like 3 years ago.
Yes, it was like we do really well here. We all just kind of converge on an idea without talking to each other, and then it just becomes what it is.
What's that? There's a word for that where, like, independently, if the person who's supposed to invent something dies, someone else, some other part of the world will invent the same thing.
Yeah, I have no idea. I will look
when you
it
guys
up.
know, comment below what that is, because we have no idea.
It may end up in the video as a text, because I don't know. And I want to know.
But more or less, though, we all have this idea that the Jesus as himself, the embodiment of who he was actually Loki, son of Laufey, kind of like an astral projection kind of thing, because he has so many weird gifts of multiplying, shape-shifting, species shifting completely, that we believe that he kind of took his essence and poured it into the one thing he knew best to destroy his enemies. Get rid of their followers.
Mm-hmm.
So why would he do this, and why would it destroy their enemies? Because Chris and I share the belief, and probably these guys as well, that their power is directly related to the number of people that believe in them.
There's also another theory where a lot of people think that planes only fly because of the belief put in them. Not that hardcore. We're just saying that more or less within gods and with certain magical powers, the more you believe in it, the more powerful it becomes.
That being said, if enough people believe in it, the world will be flat.
So let's go ahead and give them ammo.
It's not flat?
But yes, so to kind of sum it up quickly, and then we will of course expand on this later. A lot of us here believe that when Jesus Christ came to earth, his first kind of like thoughts and the way that Christianity was first taught is a wonderful thing. Love your brother, sharing. It's the same as any religion or faith. Golden rule, don't be a prick. It's very simple.
Multiple discovery, that's it? I thought it was more complicated than that.
So,
Sorry, I'm
Digressing.
I'm getting Q notes over here.
So, the best way, of course, to get rid of his enemies after he had killed Baldur and was tied underneath Niflheim would have been to kill off their followers slowly. And the way you do that is you take wolves and you turn them into sheep, lambs of God. Why is Satan represented as a snake? Because Loki hates the fuck out of snakes.
So before we get too far into that shit,
So he hates his kid.
there's the argument that when talking about this before to other people in the community, like, well, he's fucking tied up and there's acid dripping on his head. Yeah, but his wife's right there holding a bowl. Eventually her arms would have got tired and she would have started looking around and be like, hey, maybe if I put this here, and so it's like dripping on something else and rolling off.
Yeah,
he can have time enough to like concentrate and astral project, or even fucking get out.
Or honestly, with how much pain he is constantly, it could just be he's gotten used to it. And he's
Right.
like, I can go do other things now. I'm numb.
Definitely multiple personality disorder with that guy anyway. But yeah, you take a entire world, because before Christianity had its rise, old school Judaism was still a very hardcore religion. They were very set in their ways, and they knew how they needed things to be done. And then this Jesus Christ guy comes along and just wrecks shop for every religion, pretty much.
Well, and you can see that in the Old Testament compared to the New Testament. I mean, it goes from "don't screw up or I will smite you" to "let's hold hands and be friends, and it doesn't matter what you do, you're going to heaven anyways."
Yes. The turn the other cheek thing became extremely large, of course, in the St. James Bible. But the New Testament itself was very much so, oh yeah, no, I died just so you all could not really have to worry about this whole other part of the book. That's just history now.
Now that being said, there are examples of reasoning behind this theory in the Old Testament as well. So like there are theories I've got where you can go all the way back to Abraham, the beginning of all the Judeo-Christian bullshit. I shouldn't say that, you know, you can believe in what you believe in. But you can see like the entire Judeo-Christian and actually all of the monotheistic, those big three, you can see the entirety of those religions sprout from Abraham and his son's family qualms, right? And so I feel that it's in that split. Loki was like, hey, boom, you believe in this God, you believe in this God. Guess what? They're both me.
Yep. It also kind of goes into the fact that the entire religion now of Christianity, Catholicism, and all that has been really altered heavily. There was huge debate between Irish Catholics and every other Catholic about what day Easter was supposed to be on, because a lot of them had on March 25th, because that was the solar equinox and stuff, and then a lot of them wanted to do it in April, like it is nowadays. And of course, we all know Easter is not actually that holiday. It was Ishtar, and how Christmas. He was not born in December.
No.
So sadly, the religion itself has been warped due to man. But the original idea of it was to turn the other cheek. That's really the whole point of when Jesus came around. He turned the world into a meek place. Don't murder, don't covet. All the things that were already listed in all the pagan religions, he just copied them and threw in that 10th commandment. Or I think it's the 3rd or something, but do not covet any other idol before me. God and the whole monotheistic religions are extremely controlling. But in the Old Testament, especially when you read a much older Catholic Bible, it talks about, in Genesis and with the things of Moses, God acknowledges the other creatures and spirits and deities, in a way almost, of the world. But you are not supposed to converse with them. And then it turned into, like we said, something much more about, just don't think about it. Just do what the guy tells you, give him your money, go every Sunday, you go to church. Period. That's just how you do it. So, one of the main things that really got us on the idea of Loki maybe being who Christ really was is the miracles too. He made a blind man see. He turned, and again, we talked about him being able to kind of spread himself and do tricks. Took a loaf of bread and a fish and fed 400 people or something?
Right.
I mean, his powers kind of correlate with Loki's. He has the ability to trick people and to make them see things they weren't really seeing. Is there any story about that blind guy after Jesus left remaining able to see? No, because no one gave a fuck about after the dude was cured. It was the miracle that was the important part. So, it's kind of a weird thing to think about, but to us, it just makes a bit more sense. Again, like I kind of said, Loki would maybe not hate, but yeah, he would definitely have a dislike of snakes and serpents, being that he was tied up with his own son's entrails and then dripped poison upon him for a long time, if not still to this day. You might not like snakes very much. So it'd be very easy to be like, Satan. Yeah, don't like snakes. Snakes are evil. Don't touch them. I mean, I wouldn't like something if it was torturing me for eons. So with the idea of Loki being really the pusher behind the Christian faith, it kind of also then comes into what we've talked about, the Romans, and how that became a huge propaganda piece. I can't remember who the first Roman emperor was that was full Christian. I don't know if it was Constantine, or I know Constantine was one of the biggest powerful Christian emperors of Rome, but it was...
I don't think he was the first one. I think he was the one that started mandating the conversion.
Right, but he was definitely one that started mandating it, and making it to where that was the official religion. And then
Our fact checker is checking.
Yeah, and then it spread like wildfire. Hit England and Celtic, Ireland, Scotland super hard, and eventually then in the 1000s got its way over to Scandinavia. Scandinavia was the last hold. And
Iceland.
Iceland especially. Who was it?
So Constantine was the first.
Yeah, Constantine was. Okay. He was the very first openly Christian emperor. So it kind of goes to show that in a way he needed an army first. Because he knew that the Norse culture was going to be the hardest one to get into. This is a culture entirely based around women are powerful. They are equal. Men go off and go to battle, but women defend the homestead and from raiders and the other random guys who didn't go raiding. magic becomes abolished, and all these gods and spirits and fae, leprechauns and stuff like that, they become saints or archangels and angels. And it had to take time. You couldn't just go into the Norse culture and just shake it up that easily, because with it being such an oral, family-based tradition, it was extremely tight. I mean, that's why it took almost 200 years to fully convert the Scandinavian region. And yeah, Iceland held out for a long time. It kind of goes to show the strength in belief is one of the most powerful defenses to stupid ideas. Not so much saying that Christianity is stupid, but when you read the Bible enough and you see the way that the Old Testament and the New Testament totally say the opposite of each other, and even parts of the New Testament itself just completely go in opposite directions, it's hard to understand when we're coming from a place of don't steal anything that you're not willing to just tell the guy you're taking, don't kill just for the sake of killing, and just don't, again, golden rule, don't be a prick. It's that simple. Honor will get you everything in life. So then, what's the best way to kill that? Take a sheep, rip his fangs out, turn him into take a wolf, rip his fangs out, and turn him into a sheep. If sheep had fangs, that'd be a much more different story.
Right.
So, with the sheep and wolf analogy, it kind of then goes into what we're dealing with today, though. Because now the wolves are among the sheep again, and we're converting. And we're ripping the wool off of these poor blind sheep and revealing that wolf that is inside of them. The pack has become much more powerful. So, I talked a lot. Any other ideas I'd like to hear from you two on your...
How about some examples?
Examples of
Yeah,
how...
it was just a long tangent. You didn't breathe. So some examples that led us down this, we'll call it a theory, right? So one of the big ones that Chris and I like to use is the story of Isaac, right? His father is talking. Isaac's the kid. I had to think about it. It's been a while since I've read these stories. So there's a dad and a son. I don't care what their names are, honestly. And the dad is like, God just told me to kill my son. I guess I better do that. So he takes his son.
Yeah, Abraham and Isaac.
Cool. There's a dad and his son. Anyway, so by the time that the father goes to pierce the flesh of his son, boom, there's a sheep. It's like, it was a test, you passed. It's like, that's a hella Lokian thing to do, right? It's like, as soon as it's pierced, it's like that scene in Spirited Away when all the pigs become people again. Yeah. And it's like, man.
Because remember, this is a God that loves you and everything, and he will always forgive you in the end, but murder your kid.
As long as there is absolute, without question, devotion.
Yes.
Well, and see, my example of how I got into this was the first commandment, which is that you shall not covet any other idols before him. And it's the fact that it's so you have to only believe in me.
Mm-hmm.
And
Very
that is like the biggest egotistical thing to do. Plus, how else to defeat your enemies within the Norse pantheon?
Mm-hmm.
Take all the power that they have belief-wise, as well as, I mean, who's to say that Loki didn't, mingle with other gods and decide that, hey, I hate all y'all, I'm taking y'all down. And I will be the one god.
Except for Krishna. He apparently really liked the Hindus.
Yeah.
They were probably all just orgied out, and he was like, these people are nice.
Yeah. And then just moved on and left them alone.
So then another good example.
So along the Ten Commandments, what were you going to say, actually? Because I was going to go on what she was saying. Where were you about to say?
No, the other thing was the story of Jericho. The walled city Jericho. A lot of people forget how very grotesque that was.
Everyone needs to circumcise themselves and wait 3 days.
And not only that, when the army that was taking Jericho had sieged the town, they're like, they walked around it for 7 days blowing a trumpet. What they really did is starved women and children and men out. They didn't let any supplies in. They marched around the entire city for 7 days and 7 nights, which you can't last that long without fresh water. And they then went in and killed everyone. Literally everyone. Again, this is coming from a religion that boasts true love.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty
From the
deceitful. Yeah, the creator himself is like, I love all of you, but she ate an apple, so now y'all are gonna do some horrible shit to each other because knowledge is forbidden. Which makes more sense with Loki.
Exactly.
Okay, there it is. I was like, where's the tie for Loki? Got it. So along the lines of the Ten Commandments, then, a lot of the most coveted ideas of Christianity, like the virtues, right? Virtues and commandments, everything that is talking about as bad directly correlates to what is held in high esteem in Viking and Norse cultures.
Such as bathing. If you bathed or combed your beard too much... No, literally.
Keep going. I'm not going to stop you. Keep going.
It was
It's vain.
in the Christian times, if you bathed too often, it was vain for you to comb and trim yourself. You were seen as a sinner because you wanted to look good.
That's why I was going to stop you.
I knew where he was going.
I knew the connection was going to happen. I didn't click. I was waiting for it. See, that's a perfect example. Vanity or pride. One of the deadliest of sins. Actually, all the deadly sins go into something either spoken about in the Havamal or in the sagas, right? So pride is massive in this culture, right? Pride is so huge. You know, you're supposed to really know that you're the shit, but not talk about it. Odin says, like, let other people brag for you.
Yeah.
You know that. But if you need to, go ahead and talk about yourself.
That's cool.
Write a poem, be cool.
Yeah, pay someone to tell your story is kind of what. Right? Gluttony, it's a huge thing. Like, we feast days all the time. The Havamal does say, you know, do it in moderation. Generally,
right.
This feast is awesome.
Yeah.
You know, so that you can go through each one of the rules and find its direct correlation, how it's attacking the established culture of the North. Not that, all right, so if you were to go from a historical standpoint, you're like, well, the Mediterranean region is not trying to attack the frozen wastelands of Scandinavia. It's like, no, but if you were to look at it from a godly standpoint, why Loki would want these to be the covenants of this new religion to give himself power, you start like connecting some weird, far-fetched conspiracy theory dots.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, this kind of makes sense.
Especially on the, the belief of like Ragnarok being a cycle.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if Christianity started, you know, a while before, you know, the big Norse, you know, time. Who's to say that he didn't have this planned out the last time that they went through this cycle?
Yeah.
You know, that way he got that head start on it. You know, but you know, when it comes to Christianity and how it almost seems to, like you said, attack the different virtues that we hold in high esteem. I mean, they covered every basis that they could. I mean, Adam and Eve.
Ask and blood.
Yep.
Exactly.
I mean, Ragnarok and Armageddon itself.
Right.
Yeah, world ends in flame after a horn blows.
Weird.
Yeah. I mean, they even had to come up with a story for a rainbow. I mean,
well, like I know there's in an old version, maybe new. I can't remember anymore. It's been a long time, but it actually references the river Styx in Genesis.
Yeah.
And the old Latin version of the book of Genesis, the word they use for paradise literally translates into tree. So you can see these things, and you know there's a lot lost in translation as well. I understand that.
Yes.
There's a lot that changes through history. That's why I kind of talked about in one of our other podcasts how there's like this. You can watch the Bible evolve as they try to convert more and more cultures.
Yeah, that's what I was going to talk about, yeah. Because literally most of the Bible is written in Old English, which comes from Scandinavian Norse. I mean, they all bled together.
Yeah, and then like part of the conversion process as well, you can see in old archaeological finds of hammers, you can watch the hammer rise. So it's still a hammer, but it looks basically like an upside down cross to help make that conversion easier. Because they're already wearing a pendant around their neck.
Right.
There's just little signs like that, but that's kind of getting off topic of Loki's Jesus.
Right.
But I mean, it goes another way.
At the same time, no, because at that point, it's ruining the symbol of Thor, which
His
would be a
biggest
personal
oppressor.
attack. Yeah.
And that's his biggest oppressor.
Is taking Thor's symbol and turning it into something that no longer represents Thor. And
not
taking
only-
that power specifically from him.
Not only that, also being a god who was killed by nails. And you just took his hammer away.
Yeah.
That's like a low blow.
That's like one of those things, like like in the movie Neighbors, when he's like, "Oh, you think he saw the Yiddish? What Yiddish?" It's like, instead, you lost the game, basically, or the game is up, foot, whatever. It's like, my little note there. It's like, I feel like Loki would have put that signature in there. It's like, yeah, remember he's killed by nails at the hammer? No one would ever put that together. And Chris is like, doo-doo-doo, and everyone's like, you're stupid. He's right, though.
But the entire thing of the convergent cycle of taking this religion based around power and self-pride and not, no self-doubt, being sure of yourself, and then just slowly eating away at it. Because even without Loki there, his followers and the cardinals and the popes and all those people, they knew you can't just go into a place and tell them, stop, and now do this. Because then you get insurrection and you have constant civil war. You have to slowly eat away at it. Well, yes, it did happen. I mean, most of Ireland was destroyed when the Christian Romans came in. All the Druids were murdered horribly. All their stuff was burned. Most of their sites, aside from Stonehenge and a few others, were completely disassembled.
Yeah, Christianity is the closest thing that has calmed the Scots, because the Romans tried several times. They built 2 walls to try to control the Scots, and they're like, no, and the Christians came by and they're like, that's kind of cool. We're still going to paint ourselves blue.
Yeah. Then, that's the fun thing, like Celtic Cross. The Celtic Cross is a huge one. The Celtic Cross usually has vines in the center of it, and then a sun behind it. And a lot of people don't understand that that's a pagan symbol. The vines on the inside represent Gaia and Mother Earth, and then the sun on the outside represents their sun god. And that is how Loki works. He's a trickster. He's not a warrior. He's not a battle general. He literally goes in and just pokes you in the right place until you either fly off the hinge or give in to what he wants.
Yeah, everyone else has to do his bidding for him. He couldn't just straight up kill Baldur or throw the mistletoe.
Right.
He couldn't just take everyone. He couldn't fight all the gods in a one-on-one. He had to take all their power, create this new story
of an immortal god who could never die and knows everything already.
And from a standpoint, even in that time period where we do have an afterlife podcast coming, but still where you're looking at your options for the afterlife are going to be just kind of okay in hell. They're going to be really awful in Nidhogg. They could be kind of awesome if you're into that in Valhalla. Like it's a multiple choice afterlife, or everything's going to be awesome forever as long as it's me and only me that you pray to, and your body's clean, you don't drink.
Yeah.
Just don't be a Viking, and you can live in the clouds with me.
Right. Yeah, they took a much harder stance on it, whereas the Havamal tells you don't drink too much, don't eat too much, let no man make fun of a person who goes to bed early. Then Christianity came along and was a hardcore like, nope, that's all bad, deal with it. Except for the blood of Christ and the body of Christ. And that has like a magical power to it. These people literally thought, oh, this has been sanctified. I am taking a part of the body of my Savior into me.
And then applying that to Loki, that gives it a whole new meaning.
Right. Because there's no religion before Christianity that they would literally think that they were so great that they could take the body of their Savior and consume it to put him inside of them. That's vain as hell.
And that's where I was going with the Loki remark.
Oh, yeah.
That he has somehow tainted those things, and you're literally taking him in.
You.
Exactly. Thank you. Thank you for getting there. Because that's a Loki thing to do.
Yeah. He doesn't mind taking it either, though. We all know from Slipnir. Which is maybe that's what scarred him to really hate gay sex. He felt it for the first time. He's like, I don't like that.
And now I'm gonna put it in this new religion.
Yeah, you're not allowed to be gay.
Anti-gay. Because I ain't gonna have nobody judge me like that again.
Let the seed of a man fall upon the floor and dirt than to ever fall into the
belly of a whore.
Like, everyone imagines Loki as Tom Hiddleston, but no, the voice you just gave him.
Yeah, and that's one of the biggest things. I mean, and look how Loki is portrayed in most art. Even Old Norse art from the 1300s. He's a very debonair, light-skinned, kind of darker bearded sometimes, or dark-haired person. Kind of looks like white Jesus. Hardcore.
I've seen a lot of him as red hair with like a pointy chin.
Yeah.
But it's still that almost I'm above everything regal
Mhm.
type look.
Doesn't have
Pretty
muscle
foppish.
to his name.
Right.
Yeah, scrawny as shit.
He's not a fighter. He's a thinker.
Right.
Yep. And I mean, he was good at it. So then we can start wrapping this up. I mean, this is a very tangent-y, like all of them, podcast. We just like to get our ideas out there. We really want you guys to comment on this one. This is a big area for debate and discussion. Now, of course, remember, that's exactly what this stuff is really for. Make you think on your own.
Develop your own theories.
And then find your own way through it and tell us what you think. So don't forget to subscribe, like, especially the comment on this kind of a video. We really want to hear from you guys. So thank you very much. You know, we'll be here every Monday at 5:45?
5:45.
Every Monday at 5:45. So as always, thank you for
drinking
from the well.